Cool. All right, so when we start our new project, we went over settings, we went over scratch disk. Scratch disk is once again where it records. If you see a yellow warning, that means it's still loading. If you see a red warning, it means it can't find it. Heads up. So from here, you can import footage. As said, there are a couple different ways you can do it. You can go to File, Import Footage, and select whatever footage you want. Open. You can also import a folder if you wanted to keep everything in a folder. You would just click Import Folder instead. You can also, once it loads, you could just drag the file directly into here. So you can just drag your files directly into the bin, like get a Finder window open and drag it. You can right-click and go File, Import. You can also go to Media Browser and find all your files that way. You would just click through and say, okay, I save them in Data D and find them this way. So if I wanted any of my footage from other places, I can do that too. So these are all ways to get your footage. For your sequence, you have a couple different things you can do. You can go File, New, Sequence, and you can set it to the preset you use. Now let's say I have no idea what preset I used. I'm going to pick this DV 24p widescreen, why not? And I drag it over, it will tell me when it doesn't match. If I pick the wrong one and I drag it over, it tells me when it doesn't match, so I would say change sequence settings. I can also make a new sequence just by grabbing the clip and dragging it in. And then it will make one that automatically matches that size clip. So any of the windows, you have to be careful. Some of you have figured this out already, is if you click on them, you can kind of drag them around. You can click here, you can close the panel and, tell it to go away. You can undock a panel, which means now you can click it and move it around. If we want to redock the panel, we'll have to figure that one out. We can close it, we can drag it over here. And I may have just destroyed the editing one. All right. Yeah, it still doesn't want to do it. So let me see if I can restore. Reset to save layout. There you go. I can click here and go reset to save layout. So this is my source window. This is where I'm going to review my clips. I can add a marker. This is different than this right here. A marker is if I say, hey, look, here he seems to actually be talking about something I want. I can click a marker. It will add a point so that I can just basically say, come back to this because this was a good place to start or this was a good thing to remember if I'm editing. I can move, this is called a CTI, current time indicator, to mark in. I can move it to mark out. I have an insert, which will insert a clip in between two. I have an override that will override it over them. And remember, the footage goes wherever I have these selected. So if I wanted it to go on the same track, I could do that. So I just change these options right here. Cool. We also have a export frame where if I said, hey, look, Matt actually looks like this, I want to use as a picture, why not? There, his mouth is closed, that would be nicer to him. I could click export frame and I can save it as a JPEG, a GIF, a PNG, whatever I want. I won't do that, he would be self-conscious. And then I have these buttons right here. This is go to the start of the current time indicator, or not the current time indicator, the mark in. This is go to the mark out. Cool. So that's most of what the sequence is about, except for the fact that I will also go here to see my effects controls in a minute. My program just shows what's down here. I can do all sorts of things. I can double click. I can shrink a clip if I wanted. I could just start putting all of them in different spots. So if you guys are watching the like Marvel Brady Bunch parody going around, this is just what they do, is they would film them all and move them around. That's actually called picture-in-picture, if you so care. And I can also, same thing, I could set a mark in and a mark out here. And if I decided I didn't want that clip, I could do a lift, which will lift it out and put a space in. I can also do an extract, which will extract the clip and then push them back together so there's no gap. So those are the settings for there. And then almost everything else is the same. You've got an export frame too. You've got a fit to Windows, so you could view this at 100, 150% of what it actually looks like. Or you could go ahead and make it kind of half size or full size, whatever you want, for just viewing it and showing it. And that's really what the program monitor is about. Then we go to the sequence. And I said this is where you cut everything together. It shows the time code. Time code is the number of frames associated with each part. This doesn't change. You can move it around and it'll know where it is, but the time code of a clip, if you notice it up here, it'll always have like seconds, minutes. If you cut it out, they might end up in different spots in the timeline, but it's not like you automatically change it from 25 to 30 frames a second during the process. It's always going to be 30 frames a second. And then this right here is called your time ruler, because it is indeed a what? It's a ruler. It's something that you measure time with. It's horizontal. It looks like a ruler. Cool. So from there, you can also adjust these, move them around, change speed. And you can do that either by right-click and go to speed duration. If I decided I wanted this at 90%, let's just slow her down a little. We talked about how the sound warped whenever we did that, so you can click maintain audio pitch. And now, even though she'll speak a little slower, it should be about the same pitch of her voice.
So what did you learn from Arrow?
Well, I actually learned a lot more 3D stuff than I was thinking I was going to.
So if you notice when she's talking, it still is the same pitch, even though the clip is slowed down. So you can do that. The other tools on here, remember we have the ripple edit tool. This is how you can shrink the size of one clip, and the other will come with it. So if I decide I need to take a minute, or I guess, how about 2 seconds off this? I can move it. See, it says my minus 212, so I can move it until I have minus 2 seconds, and it will shrink the clip with it. That's one easy way to shrink a clip and shrink the whole thing down. So that's a ripple edit. Then we have the rolling edit. The rolling edit is going to go ahead and change both of them. We've got our rate stretch tool, which is how you can speed up and slow down a clip again. This does not have a maintain pitch option. So now when we play it, and I mean, this is insane. You normally wouldn't play a clip at 10%. Although now you guys know how they make the Transformer sound effects, right? Whenever they're flying by and go the whoa, 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 whoa. It's just slowed down with an echo effect. And now they use it for all sci-fi. So you have your rate stretch tool, and then you've got your slip and your slide, which are down here. And your slip kind of needs a little more than we have in here. But it lets you change where you're watching in the clip without changing the size and the sequence. So it's like saying, let's move the start and end point, but keep the duration the same. The slide tool is you physically slide it over here. Yep, the slide tool is just going to slide it around. but it'll also change where she starts and ends too. So all right, so then we have titles. You guys can go to the whole new awesome title menu, which is going to kind of be graphics. They have a bunch of them. They have credits, graphic overlays, they have lower thirds. So what this is going to do, we'll have to change the font, is it's going to put a title at the lower third of the bar. I know, in its alien language, but if we edit it, we can change it. So if we click on it, click, it says caption image here, and we can change it from this irregular, which is what it's defaulting to maybe a nice Arial. You can read that. Lower thirds is designed to be at the lower thirds of the screen. It's going to be the one that you can kind of title things with if it's a location or a person. This is used for interviews a lot. Haha, bringing it back to that. You guys have said, just saw Infinity War, whenever they're bringing up the location they go to, same with like Guardians of the Galaxy, they use a lower third title to tell you where they are. That's kind of what the purpose of it is. We also have a roll, a crawl, a still. Roll is going to go up and down. Those are like your Star Wars titles. Still stays still. There you go. Still stays still. It doesn't move. Crawl goes across the screen like a baby crawling on the floor. So then we have effects, and this is kind of going to be our second to last section here. Effects are all here. We've got color correction. Someone asked, how do you color correct? That's over here. We have audio effects and video effects. We also have video transitions. So for one, let's say we wanted to put the title here and we couldn't see it. We could find a crop title. This is a video effects crop, and put it over him. On crop, if we double click it, we will get the effects controls here. And so if I go to crop, I can actually start cropping out the bottom of this. So if I decided, I could go ahead and move this so you could see the title easier. If you like the old title format better, that's File, New, Legacy Title. And if you guys remember this, where you just clicked and typed in here, like Matt, let's stop defaulting it to that AGI or whatever. We'll say he's Matt, which actually is his name. Why not? Click in here, Matt Maddock. Which I always think he sounds minorly like he should be in Daredevil. And yeah, and then from there, he's close. Not quite, but almost. And then, so this you just drag on like it's a separate object, and I could delete this other one. So I could crop, I can show titles, I can adjust them here. For the audio, it's also in this menu. If I click on here, it's just right at the bottom. There's audio effects. This is where you can change the volume, everything else. Cool. Crossfades, fade from one object to another. They're a what? Video. Are they an effect or a transition? They're a transition. Anything that changes it is a transition. Oh, and let's delete our search for crop. By the way, you guys can always search if you forget what something's called. An additive dissolve is also going to be kind of a dip to black. There's also a dip to black, fade to white if you want. This is once the clip ends and we show it.
Realm of medium of stuff to do, and everyone had really interesting ideas for how.
What you'll see is it fades to black. That usually is used for what? It's an end, and is it an end and then you immediately start right back up in the next scene, or does some time pass?
Some time passed.
Some time passes. So that's what we're looking at for that. After you've edited this brilliant, wonderful piece, let's say it's a brilliant, wonderful piece, we're going to go to File, Export, And if you are clicked in a window that is not the program or the source, you won't actually have the option normally. Oh, you're making a liar out of me. Well, there we go. So, no, it's doing it wherever it wants. Huh, okay, that's unique. So maybe that changed in the last update. We go export media. Now, here's some neat things. You can actually click and right in here, if we move our time slider and we show different areas, we can export just a part of the clip from here. So if you did a 30-second and a 1-minute version, you just wanted to export the 30-second, rather than re-editing it, you could just select the first 30 seconds here. And then change it from custom. You can do entire sequence too, but if you do sequence in and out, you can just click, click, and it'll go to custom. You can export video, you can export audio. It's not showing it to me because it's MP3. If I change it to the web standard, which is H.264, it'll show me what I have. It'll show me the clip. I can export my audio, I can export my video, I can do just one at a time. I click here to say where I want to save the file, and I probably want to call it like test export, and then we're done. And then we export it, and we've now done the entire project. That's it. We are done end scene. That is